Hello Lorenzonites, good evening and welcome back to KSP to Mars, where today we actually have episode 66, I imagine, or possibly 65. Anyway, after recording the last episode, I couldn't help myself and think up another Mars mission. Now the previous ones have all failed because they had either too much parachutes or too much weight or both. So I made a lightweight, heavily parachuted lander, and I will demonstrate that to you in just a few seconds. But first, look around. There is no ocean anywhere to be found because I discovered one of the features of the new real solar system thing, and that is the different launch sites. And I don't think they display on the globe here, but you can put the KSC in different spaces representative of real world launch sites. Currently it's selected the Kazakhstani Baikonur Cosmodrome, and that is somewhere here. I know somewhere here. It's a fairly large area, but we're gonna try and do a launch from there, which will be the test launch for the Mars KISS, to keep it simple, stupid. So let's load that up, and we shall do a small test to see whether the launcher, the launcher is needed. I can't speak anymore. The launcher has yet to be designed, but we can test the lander and its various staging and landing mechanisms to see if the weight balance is alright and if the engines can fire for a appropriate duration. Obviously we shall be testing it here on Earth, not on Mars, so we will only be able to test very basic core functionality. This of course is the heat shield, that will not be thoroughly tested today, but we can do the landing legs, the parachutes, and the action groups. The staging. So let's boost it a little bit up into the air first, and then of course once it is landed, we can rename that as, I don't know, Cosmodrome 1 or something, to denominate that this is the area that is in Kazakhstan. So this makeshift rocket system. This is not part of the lander, by the way. This is just the delivery vehicle I devised to, well, put it up in the air. It's not going to put it up really that far. Well, 2.5 kilometers. Although I'm probably not accounting for the Baikonur altitude. Okay, let's deploy this. Yeah, this might not be enough time to properly test it. Yeah, this just about covers it. Okay, let's deploy. Okay, so I might want to do the parachutes before separating the heat shield. That's a good thing to change. And then the engines can fire, which actually have enough power to lift up, so that is good. We can deploy the landing legs, and this tower will remain. This will of course be the attachment point for the booster stage, and this should prove to be a fairly simple lander. Why is this still here? Is this just randomly still there? Or it's the wrong way around. I want this to stick to the heat shield and not to the ship, so I need to change that. So for now let's time warp until this is safely touched down, and then rework the staging. This seems to be going well. We have the drogue chutes, we have the regular chutes, and this lander appears to, well, not have any horrendous design flaws. Let's see if the solar panels can extend without problem. There is the problem that there is no light. We might need to include some batteries in case they... Yeah, we definitely need to include some batteries. Because if we're going to land while it's night, then 10 units of charge won't be enough. So this extends, I think, just fine through here. Yeah, that fits perfectly. And we have some panels on the side here as well. So this should be fine, but just need to add some batteries. And we have all the sciences, and the antennas should be safe here. So yeah, I think this should be a nice little lander. I'm going to make the modifications, and then we shall do another test run. So let's have a look at where this is. Wow, this is a high inclination launch. We don't want that. We want to put that from Vandenberg or something. So Um, let's rename this to Cosmodrome. Rename this Cosmodrome marker. Wonderful. That's now a base. And let's get to the VAB. So there we are in the VAB. I did the changes. We have some batteries. The thing is, well, I actually took out the decoupler completely because the thing decouples on its own, and I changed the launch site to be at Vandenberg. So let's give this another test run, and then if it works, I'll slap together a launcher, and we shall put that in orbit, where we'll also look at what the craft from last mission, the Orion asteroid visitor thingy, can do, because I did find an asteroid that is going to come close in the near future. So there's that. Right, we have another night launch because we, well, basically launching this from the other side of the globe, but we have some battery charged now. So let's get this off the pad with these engines as before. And while this happens, we can try and find a transfer window to Duna. Go on. 338 days. That's still a while off, unfortunately. Right, so we are once again gaining altitude. Let's make a slight pitch over maneuver so we don't land immediately, don't land precisely back on the pad. Get rid of these engines first and foremost, and inflate the heat shield just for posterity, because obviously not a lot of heat to be shielded from this area. Right, we are now falling, and this is acting more like an umbrella than anything else, so let's do the parachutes as well. That should deal. And the next staging maneuver will separate off the heat shield and fire the engines. So these engines are fairly powerful, and according to the Kerbal engineer, this whole assembly will give this 3 kilometers per second of delta V. Or it can blow away the heat shield with a vengeance. So this looks to be going fairly well. I have some confidence in this lander. It's light, it doesn't have to do a lot, and it even has some orbital maneuvering with some rejiggering of the stages. I think these thrusters can fire past the inflated heat shield. And, well, it shouldn't have to do maneuvering though, but I feel confident enough in this little lander that we can go ahead and launch it. So I'm going to revert that, go to vehicle assembly building, and I will build a launcher. And here in the VAB we have said launcher. Now it is quite a simple beast. It has a big first stage, a small second stage, and a smaller third top booster stage. Now the problem here is that the dynamic fairings I use don't recognize this as a valid construction, so we're flying it fairing less. Also, the delta V is less than impressive. It's 15 kilometers per second, but I do like the fact that it's all chemical, so no nuclear fancy schmancy thingamajigs. So no KSP interstellar here, just big honking engines, which should suffice for a one-way ticket to Mars for this lander. Let's hope it does. As we established in the Kerbal alarm clock, the launch window is still about a year away, but we can at least put this into orbit where it can rot and wait until that happens. So let's roll it out to the launch pad. Vandenberg, this is, I'm still not sure which is the optimal launch site. If you do know, do throw that in the comments, and well, we can launch from there from then on out. Of course, no mundane concerns like cities that we can't hit with rocket debris and that sort of difficulties. So it's all about latitude for us. Here's our Mars rocket. Let's punch the throttle and send that up. Now ideally I would want to start pitching over immediately, but that plays havoc with the booster separation. So I'm going to go straight up just a little bit. In fact, I'm going to hazard a small turn, just a few degrees, just so to make sure we don't actually accidentally turn the other way. But I'm going to lock the SAS this way now, so that we don't continue that turn as you might otherwise want to actually attempt. I did add some struts in here after my last test run, which I didn't show you, but I think they will help things along, and we should be looking good. I say that, but we shouldn't drift too much off course, because before we reach Mach 1, things are rather hairy, and it's really easy to get sideswiped by the air and disintegrate, which is something we really don't want, because this needs to go to Mars and not plunge into the sea here. Well, we did pass that supersonic boundary, that's good. We are now coming up on booster separation, so we need our trajectory to be nice and stable, not like this, ditching that, and they did explode. I don't think they... Yeah, there's our aerodynamic disassembly. I could probably engineer those boosters to separate out a little bit neater, but then again I have to do more VAB work, so we are just going to give it another shot and see how that goes, and we're gonna forego that speedy turn. It invites nothing but trouble. So let's punch it straight up, and we shall just wait out the SRBs. Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. That does mean we will be turning slightly inefficient, but hopefully it will be worth it. Now, I have not tested whether these thrusters can actually fire in space and not obliterate the heat shield, or indeed provide any useful thrust. And I don't think we need the delta V that's in here for our space maneuverings, but we might, and well, that's an uncertain factor in this mission for sure. So let's once more attempt a half-degree course change with the SAS enabled. That should not pose a problem. We are entering the cloud layer now. Down low they look absolutely fantastic, but in the area between 70 and about 100 kilometers they look really ugly. I'm not sure what to think about that trade-off yet. Of course, this unsmoothed top of the rocket isn't helping things, but as I said, I can't really fit the fairings around them. It doesn't seem to work. Anyway, we're still going up mostly straight, and these should come away cleanly, and I think they did. Yes, we are not spiraling out of control just yet. I am wrestling with the controls. I'm going to attempt something resembling a pitch over here now, but as before, that shouldn't go too rapidly, because then we could face unplanned aerodynamic disassembly. We are getting higher though, 20 kilometers now, so the air is a lot thinner and doesn't quite back the punch it does down low. I think we are out of the woods, at least the thick parts of the woods, and we can now behold the splendor of this booster stage and see just how far it will get us. The rocket does wobble a little bit. We are starting to climb the G ladder. We are approaching number 2, and I think this goes all the way up until about 5 when this stage burns out. I'm not seeing any worrisome wobble on the rocket though, so I'm happy so far. I'm going to switch to orbital speed indicator, which is just ticking over 1 kilometer per second now. I'm going to keep at around 45 degrees pitch, because we've got a lot of thrust to weight ratio, but that doesn't last all the way until the end. So an apoapsis that's well, more than a little bit outside the atmosphere might not be crazy luxurious. That might in fact be needed. Now that we're through the thick part of the air though, this big stage can really put its power down and, well, increase this number to as high as it will go before we need to switch to the relatively sedate further stages. We're currently just passing Mach 5, which is fast. Unfortunately, there is no Kerbals to, well, behold the spectacle. It really would be good if this could land on Mars. It would be episode 66. Well, let's face it, it's not going to land this episode, but we might actually fulfill the destiny prophesized by the series title before the 100th episode. I think that would be good. Anyway, we're at 2.5 kilometers per second now. Remember, we need 7.7 more or less to get into orbit around the Earth, and then we need about 3, if I remember correctly, for transfer to Mars. So we don't have too much of it to spare. We should have enough though. We're at 120 kilometers, past the official boundary of space, but still not out of the atmosphere, because that extends to about 200 kilometers in this version of the game and its mods. The first stage is just about on its last dregs of fuel, and that means we shall quickly switch. Well, we shall patiently wait until they burn out, and then quickly switch to this efficient vacuum engine. Well, it's efficient in a vacuum. It's got 380 seconds of specific impulse, which is good. It doesn't have a massively impressive thrust to weight ratio. It starts out at about 1.2, and of course that will increase as the tanks burn dry. But it does mean it won't angle straight down to the horizon because we still need that altitude and the time to let this stage burn out. Approaching 4 kilometers per second, and this stage should be able to get us most of the way into orbit. If not, we can tap this tank, which is mated to a poodle here, and this is where the thrust to weight ratio really falls off. I think it clocks in at about 0.5. So if we need to rely on this too much to finalize our orbit, we will be in trouble. But for now, everything is definitely looking good. And we are still, even though this looks like a small rocket, we are still packing more fuel than many stock Kerbal Space Program rockets ever bring to the launch pad, so that is not to be forgotten. Our first stage is now more than 30 kilometers away, and we are still on course for space. We are actually in space. We're at 230 kilometers. We're at 4.5 kilometers per second, and we still have a good while to go in this stage. Now, I don't know that much more to say about this bit of the flight. Also, I've expanded my news for today on last episode, on Monday's episode. It will be a few days for you, but I did this pretty much straight after, so I'll reconvene with you when this burns out. Well, it's not quite burned out yet, but we are approaching orbital speed. We're just currently clipping 7 kilometers per second, and that means that we are, well, pretty much there. Our apoapsis here is at 650 kilometers, which is quite high enough, so I'm going to cut the engine here and coast until that point, and we should have enough electric charge to last until then. We might even catch a sunrise because, well, it's been night for long enough now. Right. This is our apoapsis, officially so. Let's see about turning this thing back around. And I'm not too impressed by the night side textures of this high resolution texture pack, but the day side looks really good. So let's boost for sunrise and do so here and now. We're a little bit higher than low Earth orbit altitude, so I'm not completely confident of the speed that is required. So let's take a gander at the map view as we boost through those final bits. So there we are in a stable orbit. We even have, do we have, wow, that is pretty much precisely there. Let's finish this. There, burp. And that's the last of that. That's pretty perfect. The second stage gets us exactly in an orbit. It's really very inclined because of the launch location, and I'm hoping that won't be too much of a deal when boosting for Mars. Let's make a mock-up maneuver node, set this target, and if we just ignore our inclination here and burn prograde from here. Ooh, this is a scary amount of delta V, really quite scary. We should have it, well, yeah, that inclination doesn't seem to be that much of a problem. It's a bit off, but only by 2 degrees, so that's actually really good. It appears to not make any difference. 3.3 kilometers per second, that should be, if I recall correctly, in this, and otherwise we can supplement with that, so that should be fine. So in preparation of that plan, let's separate the vehicle, get away from that upper stage, and leave it here. We shall deploy 2 of the 4 solar panels for the cruise phase. Well, the actual cruise still has to commence, but never hurts to have some solar panels out, I don't think. Right, so we can throw in a quick save there and leave that here for now. We have the alarm clock ready. Yeah, that's 338 days. And let's then switch to our asteroid rock hunter. Where's that? That's this one here. This is a little bit less conventional. It has nuclear engines, and it is raring to, well, put that to use to visit an asteroid. Which asteroid, you ask? The one over here. Set as a target. Wow. So we can... Alright. And this is going to be problematic. A 118-degree inclination change required. So yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. Right, we'll muck about with the asteroids later. There is absolutely no way we're going to be able to catch this asteroid from here. Well, we might, but the minus 118 inclination means we're orbiting in the wrong direction. So we might be able to whip past it, but that will be at a relative velocity of about 15 kilometers per second, well, less, 5. And that doesn't work so well. So we shall leave these guys in orbit just a little bit longer and figure out a different mission for them. I think we'll just, I don't know, wait until there is a nice asteroid that passes close by, possibly swing them around the moon or do something else fun with them. They have lots of uranium, so they should be fine for now. I shall end the episode here, and in the next episode we will just go to Mars. No more waiting around for launch windows. Well, we will wait, but we will do so with the aid of time acceleration. So, for now, I'm Lorenzo. Thank you for watching, and next episode we shall go to Mars, as advertised in the series title. So, see you then.